Hi, guys. My name is Meg, and I want to talk to you about a very sensitive subject. Recently, I had problems with my uh, women's health, and I know that my boyfriend infected me. But the thing is, I had 3 boyfriends, and I had to do an investigation to find the culprit. I was a second-year college student, and I was happy in my relationship with my boyfriend, Mike. However, after a while, I felt the need to date other guys. No, I still loved Mike. I just wanted someone else. I thought I was polyamorous, and I thought it was okay to be in love with multiple people at the same time, although my friend said that I was just too frivolous. But I decided that I was polyamorous for a reason. There was this guy, Bob, and I met him in my college choir. God, he had such a beautiful voice. We talked a little bit. I tried to flirt with him, and he reciprocated. Oh, I was so happy, and I definitely wanted to date him. However, I had to talk to Mike about it first. I loved him, and it was important to me that there was an agreement in our relationship. So, one day, I plucked up the courage to start talking about it. However, Mike reacted extremely negatively. He started yelling at me, and he thought I was crazy. He literally turned as red as a tomato because of his anger and jealousy. In the end, he gave me an ultimatum. He wanted to be my only boyfriend, otherwise we'd have to break up. Of course, I didn't want to part with Mike because I loved him and we had a lot of things in common. But it's 2020. We are progressive people, and I was not his property. I should have had the right to choose. I thought about what to do for a few days. And then I came to a compromise. Mike was dear to me, but I was also head over heels in love with Bob. So I decided to have an affair in secret. And the very next day after choir class, I went to have coffee with Bob. From that moment on, I had 2 boyfriends who I loved equally. Of course, I had to keep the relationship a secret, but this is a sacrifice that I was willing to make in order to feel alive and like a complete person, although this sometimes brought a lot of problems. The problem was that I wanted to see my boyfriends literally every day. And sometimes I'd say goodbye to Bob at the cafe and rush home to Mike to spend time with him. But the hardest part was that they both went to the same college as me. I felt like I was in this Pac-Man game. I walked the halls and tried to not inadvertently meet the 2 of them at the same time. But I have to admit, it was very thrilling. But very soon, the difficulty level of my game increased again. My friend called me to a cafe just to chat, but there was a strange guy with her. As I found out later, he liked me a lot, but he was shy about asking me out. So my friend arranged a meeting for us. You know, I would have been very angry with my friend for this kind of setup, but this guy, Nick, turned out to be really nice. He was constantly stuttering and blushing. It was clear that he was very nervous, and it amused me. I guess his awkwardness melted my heart. We talked for almost 2 hours without a break, and I really wanted to see him again. And that's how I got my 3rd boyfriend. Yes, I know how this looks, but try to understand my feelings. I liked all of them. I had feelings for Mike, Bob, and Nick, and I wasn't ready to part with any of them. However, none of them were ready for a polyamorous relationship, so this was my way out and my way to be happy. And if you think it was easy for me, it was not. Every day I planned everything so my day would run on time and no one would suspect anything. I was literally like an evil genius who had a blackboard with a bunch of newspaper clippings, photos, and plans that were connected by a red thread. And I was able to live like this for almost 3 months. But then I was faced with the greatest challenge. It was Valentine's Day. It was literally my official holiday because I was probably the most in love person on the planet. And I wanted to pay attention to all my boyfriends on that day. So I came up with a complicated plan. Oh, it was a whole special operation. To be able to spend time with all of them, I had to show incredible time management skills. So I decided to go ahead and meet my first boyfriend, Mike, right at midnight. I arrived at his house, and at 12:01 a.m., called him and asked him to look out the window. And a second later, he saw me on the sidewalk with a heart-shaped balloon. Of course, he did not expect this and stood in a daze for a couple of seconds. But this is exactly what I wanted. So he let me in, we started kissing, and then we turned off the lights and spent the whole night together. In the morning, Mike wanted to talk about something, but I didn't have time for it because I had to run to Bob. So I just said a quick goodbye to Mike and left. Bob had another surprise for me. It was a romantic picnic. We drove to a lake far out of town. We were sitting on the grass in a very deserted place. The beautiful view of the mountains and the lake really created a very romantic atmosphere. Plus, no one could see us, so we could fully enjoy each other. But after a few hours, I had to run to another date, so I had to lie to Bob and say that my parents needed help urgently and that I had to go home. So he drove me to my house, and I had a little time to prepare for my final date of the day. A quick trip to the shower, half an hour in front of the mirror, makeup, and then a chic evening dress. My date with Nick was at an expensive restaurant, so I had to look the part. I have to say it was an amazing night, and Nick did everything he could to make me happy. After that, we went to his house, and I was faced with another sleepless night, if you know what I mean. In the morning, I called a taxi, and I could barely get home. I was so tired that I just couldn't wait to get off my feet. I threw my dress on the floor, and without even washing off my makeup, I just jumped into bed. Oh, I never thought that a regular dream could be so pleasant. I slept until the next day, but I still felt very tired, although I was incredibly pleased with myself because my plan worked like a Swiss watch. My boyfriends texted me and asked to meet, but I thought I needed a little break, and I just wanted to lie in bed for a couple days before diving back into this game where I would have to walk through a minefield so that Mike, Bob, and Nick wouldn't find out about each other. However, 2 days later, something unpleasant happened that caused my perfect mechanism to break down in just one day. As I said, it was a woman's health issue, and I immediately went to the doctor with it. There was nothing wrong with it, and I was going to be cured in a couple of weeks. But what this did mean was that one of my boyfriends had passed the infection on to me. This in turn meant that one of them had cheated on me, and I couldn't stand it. I knew I wasn't a loyal girlfriend myself, but at least I was honest, and I tried to say that I wanted a polyamorous relationship. In addition, I had to inform my partners about the disease, so unpleasant conversations were inevitable. My first suspect was Nick. Sometimes he acted strangely, as if he were hiding something. I always chalked it up to his shyness, but then I thought that he was acting strangely because he was hiding his infidelity. That's what I told him, and I accused him of infecting me. But his reaction was very unexpected. He went from being a quiet and shy guy to an angry screamer. He insulted me and said that I was the cheater. More precisely, he used a different word, more offensive. Of course, after this, my relationship with him ended because the topics of infidelity and treason had surfaced between us, although none of us admitted it. But he was sincere, and I didn't think he was lying, so I still had 2 more suspects. I thought it was definitely Bob, because Mike was with me from the very beginning, and he would never cheat on me because he was a principled guy. So I went to Bob's house. As soon as he opened the door, I started yelling at him. I was 100% sure it was him, and I didn't mince words at all. Unfortunately, I was so angry that I didn't even notice that his parents were sitting in the living room and they heard the whole conversation. Oh, there was so much noise in the next second. Everyone yelled at me and just kicked me out of the house. Yes, it was definitely him. Bob cheated on me, and now he's hiding at home just to avoid admitting his indiscretion. But I still had one unpleasant conversation ahead because I had to tell Mike about the illness so that he could also go to the doctor. It was very awkward for me to speak about it because you obviously already understand that the topic of conversation was quite sensitive. But suddenly, Mike interrupted me and said that he had a confession to make, and this shocked me twice. First, he said that he knew that I was cheating on him and that I had broken our agreement. And then He admitted that he also started an affair on the side, but what happened between us on Valentine's Day was just his revenge. He just took advantage of me. And he wanted to tell me all about it back then, but I quickly left without listening to him, and that was the end of my investigation. The case was closed, and I felt terrible. Until recently, I had 3 boyfriends, and I was just so happy. But now I'm alone. Worst of all, it was my own fault, because none of this would have happened if I'd been honest with my boyfriend. But I decided to lie, and I brought problems to people who didn't deserve them.